Welcome to the weekly message from Unity North Tampa, presented here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today's message is Words of Life Part 2 and was recorded on Sunday, July 17th, 2022.
Well, here's what I want you to know today. I'm going to just start out with this very simple statement. You are a shining star. Isn't that a wonderful idea? You are a shining star. Say that to the person next to you. You're a shining star. And you might say, I feel a little rusty, right? You might be saying, I don't feel like a shining star. I feel a little rusty today. Well, that's how I felt just the other day after a really long workout. I got up and it said, okay, yes, I'm a shining star. I want to affirm this truth. So we're in week 2 of our Words of Life series, right? Last week we said yes to life, right? Yes to life. Let's say that together. Yes to life. And we said, that we are in fact the CEO of our own lives. There's no one to blame. You get to choose how you want to live, the state of health, your state of mind, because you are, all the adults in here, we're grown. You don't need anybody's permission. You decide. But that we also said sometimes we get held back by old ideas about ourselves, right? Rather than living from this higher spiritual self, this shining star. Right, the star that you are. It sounds trite, but I don't mean it as such. I mean, you are a bright and shining star. There's not another one like you. Not a single other one in the world. Even if you're a twin, there's not another one exactly like you. So for God to know himself and herself, you had to be born. But most of us don't really realize the divine nature that we are, and so we don't live in accordance with that divine nature. We have the idea that we're sinful and that we're messed up. And I hear people saying all the time, I'm so triggered, I can't do anything. You know what? You get to decide if you're ready to heal or not. So as long as you want to stay in that story, you get to. But in unity, we seek to live beyond our story. We seek to live beyond the story of what happened to me and rather live into a new story of who I truly am. And in this series, we're talking about this divine nature as it relates to healing the body. Now, you might say, well, I don't have a big physical healing need. That might be true, but you might have a need in another area of your life. And what's so amazing is, even in the area of finances, there might be something that needs healing. So everything that I will teach will apply to any area of life because it's spiritual principles based on the teachings of Jesus. This is a guy that could turn water to wine and pay bills to the tax collector by taking a coin out of the mouth of a fish. Okay? So what I'm going to tell you today is absolutely based on the teachings of Jesus, and yet it's also going to include some modern understanding of how the body and the mind work. See, Jesus so embodied that we forget, and we think only he could do miraculous things. But even Jesus said, know ye not, ye are gods? It's like you've forgotten who you are. You are the light of the world, he said. You are the light. So see, that's what I'm saying, that there's this, we're in a process of remembering our divine nature. We're in the process of remembering who we really are and getting to release the old story of what has happened. So you're more than what's happened to you or your birth order, your race and all that. Even though that's an aspect of you, this divine nature is what I'm speaking about today, and using that to bring you into alignment in every area of your life. So say to the person next to you, you are a star. You are a star. Now, as you came in, you received probably this piece of paper. And do we have that graphic, Rory, on the screen? So I want to put this up because I'm going to talk about these 6 areas of your journey. But I'm really going to start with the body. It could say here body image. It could say here healing need. But I want to start with the body. So even though you have a body, I'm going to say you're not your body. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Give me a yes, ma'am, or an amen or something. Okay, whatever your affirmation is. Yeah. I have a friend from South Africa who says, Savoom. I said, what does that mean? She said, so it is. I like it. Savoom. Okay, so you have a body, but you're not a body, right? We say you're a soul. But this body temple is important, isn't it? And we need to care for the body temple. So if there's something out of alignment, if there's a place that needs healing, there might be some things you can do to bring your body into better alignment. Now, remember we said last week that we think about the body and we think about illness as traditionally in our society as something to cure, but I like to jokingly say you cure meat, people heal. Okay? We are here to heal. And so I've known many people with significant illness. One is sitting here on the front row who has applied these principles, has put into practice the very things I'm going to be speaking of today. I know a great number of people who one day were told they had a brain tumor and were going to die, and 30 days later they go to the doctor and they can't find anything. And they look at the scans, the doctors. Now, having said this, I want to talk about all these aspects to help you heal. I don't think there's one way to heal because we're very complex beings. Have you noticed that? We're very complex beings. And so when we're dealing with something out of alignment in the body with illness or disease, what I firmly believe is that if this is going on for you, it's a part of your spiritual path to help you heal and change your consciousness. Because, friends, that's what everything is for. Most of us were taught the one that gets the most wins. But you get to the end of your life and you go, did I win? Because it sure doesn't feel like I won. See, because it's not about the things. It's about who are you becoming? Who are you becoming? And so as we're looking at the body, I want you to think about all these aspects. So when we're trying to heal the body, one of the key ways is to work with the emotions or the emotional aspect of you. Because more often than not, we are acting against the healing properties by the emotions that we're holding. And, you know, the founders of Unity, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, we know, had miraculous healings. And that's why we have Unity today. We started as a healing movement. And it was because Myrtle Fillmore heard this statement, I am a child of God. You know the rest of it, don't you? I am a child of God, therefore, I do not inherit sickness. Now, in Unity, I want to assure you, we believe in doctors. But we also believe in the power of our mind to heal. There's a whole branch of medicine, I mentioned it a few weeks ago, called psychoneuroimmunology that is now studying how the brain patterns, how these working with our thoughts and emotions actually can help us heal. Because what happens when we're in fear and anxiety, and a lot of the studies I've read actually are working with individuals in ICU. And that the things that were like affecting the like suppressing the immune response were fear, anxiety, and sleeplessness. Those were the top three. And so I decided to ask these friends I have that are doctors. I have a dear friend who's an ER doc. I have another dear friend who's an acupuncturist and a medical doctor. I have another friend that's a doctor of Oriental medicine trained in China. I asked a naturopath who's also a naturopath and a doctor of Oriental medicine, and she went to Juilliard for music. And these are not people that, you know, are not uneducated. And I asked my sister, who's a homeopathic doctor, what is the number one problem in your practice? And they all had the exact same answer. You know what it was? Stress. And stress is the thing that keeps us from healing. Think about that. Stress. Now, what is stress? Well, we're in stress when we're doing things that don't make us happy. And you say, well, that's easy for you to say. You love your job. That's true. That's true. But sometimes there's stress in anything. So we have to learn new ways of dealing with those emotions, right? So coming up in September, I don't think anybody even knows about this yet, really, but every Tuesday in September, we're going to have a Yes to Life Healing Circle. I'm going to do it at 12 noon to make sure that people that don't work can also get a class, because the people that do work, I do online classes a lot at night, but I wanted to do a Yes to Life Healing Circle where people could be right in this circle and just show up in their vulnerability with what's going on. Remember, we talked about creating healthy relationships, that one of the keys to a healthy relationship was vulnerability, being honest about how you feel and where you are. Somehow in Unity, we've gotten the idea we have to act like everything is cool, even if we're like dying on the inside. And I'm saying a key to healing is to be vulnerable, to know what your emotions are, and then to get support in that, whatever that healing need may be. Sometimes the healing need is the healing of the thought patterns. It's psychological sometimes. Sometimes we do need medication. We'll get to that. But I want to encourage you to get the right support for what's going on with you emotionally. You know, it's one of the reasons the 12 steps has been a great starting point in people's healing process, because the first step is admitting you're powerless. Well, that's vulnerability. But quit pretending you know how to work your life when everything's falling apart. Now, we're not powerless from our divine self. We know that, right? But our ego knows nothing. So when we're trying to heal the body, the first aspect I would ask you to look at and include is what is happening on the emotional level. Sometimes we start to heal and we talk ourselves out of it. We talk ourselves out of it. We say, I don't know. I'm scared. What's going to happen next step? Right? Or we say, I don't know. I don't know if I have the money. I don't know how it's going to all work out. All those thoughts, right, are impacting your ability to heal because they cause stress in the body. Now, your nutrition, this is a big one for me. Say the word nutrition. Now, nutrition, yeah. My mentor who taught me the system, she called what all of our basic restaurants are food alley. She goes, you could go down here to any food alley, and they call it food, but none of it's alive. Isn't that interesting? She said, you're trying to heal, and you're only putting food that's been so, radiated by microwaves that there's nothing left alive in it. How could you possibly heal if you're going to Mickey D's every day? I don't think my son's ever even had it. He's 15. He's eating organic his whole life. So think about that. Are we putting in what our body needs? So there's a lot now about nutrition, so most of us grow up, we just eat whatever, our parents eat and give us to eat. And even though my mom was like fantastic about it, she would hide vegetables in the spaghetti sauce and all kinds of things. Like she healed herself of arthritis by changing her diet. She ran marathons. I mean, she was just incredible, but I still got to college and ate pizza and Coke every day. Because I don't know, I could. Seemed like a good idea. Little did I know I was killing myself. Remember, I shared last week that I had celiac disease and I didn't know it. I don't know if I shared the actual diagnosis, but that's what it is. It's celiac disease, when you can't have, wheat. So I kept eating stuff and my body was saying no, but I didn't listen. So I had to completely change how I was feeding this body temple that's trying to support my soul growth. And I was putting everything in that was not helping. And there were reasons. I was away from home. It was a culture shock, so I wanted comfort food. I moved from Georgia to Seattle. I don't know what I was thinking, right? Every time I opened my mouth, they would say that again. I would go, what? It was a big culture shock. One time in class, I went to a Christian university, and one time in class, the teacher asked me to pray, and I stood up and I said, Dear Lord, And the whole class, like you did, burst out laughing. Well, when you're 18, it was like, everybody's laughing at me. So it was a big culture shock. I got kind of depressed. It's the only time in my life I think I've been depressed. I started wearing black every day and writing everything backwards. It was like a real strange. So I write my mom letters backwards, and she'd have to hold them up to the mirror, to read them. I was like, dear Mom, help me out of there. Anyway, pretty soon everything turned around. I loved Seattle, lived there for 12 years, and a great time. But I had to change. Remember last week I talked about changing, finding this new doctor, and that's what we're going to talk about next. But before we move to the medical, I want you to really think about, am I putting anything that's living in my body? Think about it. If I had not had that, it was a dangerous situation. I don't think I ever would have changed. Sometimes I'm a slow learner, but once I get it, I got it. So think about, am I putting anything that's living in my body? And maybe do I need to acquaint myself with a health food store or, one of those, or a market that sells fresh organic produce? Like, eat real food that you cut open, that's not in a sack. Quit eating stuff that you heat in plastic sacks. That's a bad idea. Don't do it. Just, oven, it's fine. Just sit on the rack, all good. You don't have to heat potatoes in a bag. Strange. I'll never get that. So, live food. You might even discover you need some supplements, right, to offset that. So, and I want to talk about medical, because if you heard me last week, I was saying in my own journey that in allopathic medicine, which is, Western medicine, I really wasn't helped. But I'm not against Western medicine. If I break my arm, I'm going to go down there and set it. I'm not going to go take a herb, right? If I got a problem, my arm needs setting, I'm going to get the right help. Like I said, my dear friends, the ER doc and nurses, all kind of people. So I absolutely honor that path. But what wasn't working for me is I was going only that path, you see? And so what I've learned, like I've worked with a lot of people with cancer, and they might just be working with a primary doctor and not really working a lot with their oncologist. And sometimes you need your primary doctor, you need your oncologist, you might even need help with nutritional support, right? And what I've noticed is if there's something really going on and you're vulnerable, you see how all these are related now? You're willing to be vulnerable and ask for help. Most people will absolutely come forward and try to help. So anytime I talk about this, people start to try to give me their herbal remedies. I'm like, I'm good, right? So everybody will want to help you if you seek help. And also working with doctors who are not afraid for you to ask questions. You need somebody that honors you, that honors your journey, and that honors your body. And especially for parents, not all pediatricians honor children's bodies. You've got to get a good one. You've got to get a good one that has a balanced approach. And so what I've learned medically is that sometimes I need a variety of things, not just one. Because a lot now I've noticed people have such specialties that they forget the whole body. So you might need chiropractic, you might need massage, you might need to get some kind of Reiki or energy healing. You might need to learn to do Tai Chi. You see how I'm saying medical, but you see how it all leads back to how it's impacting the body. I learned years ago, in my family, so I'm the youngest, I've said I'm the youngest of 9 children, and all of my siblings have heart problems and high blood pressure. All on meds. And so I didn't want to be on meds. And I thought, well, why is everybody on meds? My dad died at 61 from a heart attack. Why is everybody on meds? Because they were all eating as we ate in the South. Bacon and fatback and fried chicken and macaroni and cheese and all those great things, hush puppies, fried fish, French fries, hash browns. Did I say bacon? Yeah. Oh, did I say bacon? Yeah. Okay. Right. So I still love bacon, I'll be honest. But right. So I had to make a decision there. And it was a conscious decision. And it was interesting. I was working with this acupuncturist, and she said, you'd really benefit from Tai Chi. I'm worried that I'm concerned with what I'm feeling in your, how they feel your pulse on if you've never been, they do this it's like voodoo, but it's cool. I'm like, acupuncture is so amazing. They'll like feel your pulses right here, and they'll go, oh yeah, you were elevated in the last couple days, and I'm going, I don't know how okay. So she said, you'd really benefit from Tai Chi. I said, what do you mean? What do you mean I'm high strung? Didn't you say everybody in your family had heart problems? Did I say that? No. Okay. I said, okay, I'm going to try. Well, the whole thing with Tai Chi, which, by the way, we have here Thursdays at 1 with Bonnie, is slowing the breath, slowing the body, these movements that you do. It's just so beautiful, Just so beautiful. And my blood pressure had been just a little bit elevated. Well, I also discovered that actually a natural remedy I was taking that had licorice in it was actually elevating that a little bit. It wasn't anything I was eating. It was actually a supplement. Licorice can do that to you, evidently. I didn't know, so you're going to know more about my health than you want in this series. But that Tai Chi slowed everything down. I was really guided to go off that licorice supplement. Everything's fine. And so the next time I went and had my blood pressure taken, saw the acupuncturist. Did you start the Tai Chi? Yes, I started it. My son started it. We're taking it at the temple. We have wonderful teachers. How great to do that with my son. What a connection for him at like 13 years old, 12, 13, to learn those kind of movements, Beautiful, beautiful. Now they take my blood pressure. They go, wow, that's perfect. Blood pressure of a 20-year-old. See you in 2 years. No worries. That's funny, right? But the story was, you're going to have high blood pressure and heart problems. That was the story. Remember I said earlier, live beyond your story? Yeah, so we get to choose. We get to choose. So today is a new day. You get to choose right now today to do something differently. And the doctors and the nurses and the medical people that are going to support your journey will be different from mine. That's good and holy. You may even start a yoga practice or something else that helps you get in touch with what the body needs. This like body awareness. It's different when you have a new body awareness. And I think I shared with you, I started back the martial arts I've been doing. And you talk about a new awareness. It really changes when you have people that are so advanced. The vulnerability of knowing nothing in a martial arts practice at my age is really an interesting process. I'll do it later. Me and you. I'll show you. So think about that. What are you getting the support you need to truly heal? This is the idea. This is all for you. I'm only sharing my stories in hopes that will illuminate your journey. So my dear friend Dove, who began attending here, so several years ago, I went in with his partner and the doctor, and he said he has 2 strikes and a third one he will be dead. He said, so we're going to take him off all his meds, and I want you to perform last rites. That's what he said, this man right here. And so they took him off all his meds, and something crazy happened. He started to get better. Yeah, he started to get better. This is why he serves and has shifted his journey so much, this joy of living, and he's given me permission to share. He constantly inspires me with how he continues to grow. The other day, walked 30 minutes. That a year ago, no way. But this desire to heal, this moving forward, this getting the right support. And thank goodness, the allopathic medicine, they took him off his meds. That was the only capacity. The body can only fight so hard if the medicines are working against. See? So just be mindful about that. And the last two, for me, I want to talk about, so intellectual, here's what I mean by that. The intellectual, I've learned I need a lot of intellectual stimulation. I like to read. I like to have this big discussions. I love to have wonderful dialogue. Sometimes I even need a project. Does anybody in here need a project? You want to make something or do something or build something or, right, move the energy in your house, or you want to go build. Anybody ever watch that show NCIS? You watch that stuff? I don't know why I love my Gibbs. I can't help it. How he's always in the basement building a boat. Some of us just need a project. And so what might be intellectual stimulation for you might be going to a music concert or something like that. But, what I've noticed is that as we've gotten so comfortable with our phones, we're kind of getting dumbed down to only go to what's this. Have you noticed that? Like you haven't done your hobbies as much in the last couple of years. One is COVID, obviously, where we had to stay home, right? But there might be something in the intellectual realm that would just like get you going, right? That'll just excite you and motivate you to want to live a more full life or a fuller life. Yeah. I have a wonderful chiropractor, and that's the name of his last name is Fuller, so it's called Fuller Life Chiropractic. Love that, right? So I need the intellectual stimulation. If I'm doing all those other things and I'm not inspired, I don't want to live. That's why we have so much depression. Nobody is inspired. Right? So think about what that is for you and be about it. Get a project, make it happen. Learn something new, do a class, go for a walk, anything to stimulate your mind. And then finally, spirituality. The reason I put this last is because this is what we're always talking about. And you see how everything I'm talking about has, in fact, with it, a spiritual component, right? Everything I'm talking about. So your spirituality is what is going to guide you. Remember last week we used that affirmation, the light of love guides me. Let's say that together. The light of love guides me. So many of us learned God was way out there, and I'm saying God is right here. Out there too. But not so far that you can't reach. Not so far that you have to do everything right to get up there. That God is everywhere present. Some people call it God. Some people call it the Christ. Some people call it Jesus. Some people call it Jehovah. It's all God. And so as we are, moving into our divine self, as we are beginning to live from this star that we are, we learn, I am one with this presence. And remember our other affirmation from last week is, I am one in mind and body, so is the light one. Remember that? As I am one in mind and body, so is the light one. So you are never separate from this holy presence of God. As I am one in mind and body, so is the light one. Say that with me. As I am one in mind.
Thank you for listening
and body,
to the weekly message from Unity North Tampa here
one.
on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com. This message is copyright 2022, Unity North Tampa, all rights reserved. Our theme music, The Light of God, is composed by Shannon Croft and used with permission and available at shannoncroft.com. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The SoulWorks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. SoulWorks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the SoulWorks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.